Alrighty, today we are going to be talking about turnover cost. And this is something that we get asked frequently as far as what should our turnover cost be? What is a good turnover rate percentage? What is our targets? What are we aiming for? And companies want to know this data point, especially once we start working with them and we're peeling back the onion to define these HR data points to understand kind of where we are and opportunities for us to help improve on that side. So I thought I'd take some time now and talk through our turnover cost calculator, which you can see is up on the screen and is located on our website. And it'll look a little different once I've made this video and I put it up on this page as well and have some content underneath it. But for today, I'm going to kind of run through how you calculate this and what that actually means, and then talk about a couple of different areas that can help improve on that side. So let's jump into it. So the first thing we're going to do, you can kind of see we have these moving bars here where you can kind of adjust your team size. So let's say your team 1 year ago was 15, and today your team has doubled. You've had a fantastic year, and you've gone from 15 to 30 people. And this is something we commonly see on that side. And you want to understand, how many people have left on that side. And this is the key number, right? Because you want to say, okay, like maybe we've lost 5 people, which is not uncommon. If you're doubling in size, you're going to get some hires likely wrong. You're going to have some people move on. At that point, there's always some growing pains. So you want to understand what that is, right? Maybe it's a little bit higher with those rates. So we're looking at 31 percent on that side. So the numbers are all doing the calculation down here, right? But 15 to 30 and 5 turnover is kind of what we normally see with some companies sort of around there. And to sort of answer a couple questions right away, the goal for your turnover rate for growing companies around this size should be lower. You should be looking at that 10 to 12% range at that point for it. Like with any sizable growth, again, you are going to have some extra on that point where it's a range. You can even flex this up to about 15%. But really, what we want to highlight here is that this is higher and it adds up really quickly. And this is truly a hidden cost of businesses, which is why we created this form and give you that estimated turnover cost. And what that turnover cost is calculating is the cost to bring a new person on. And that's going to encompass a number of different factors. And there is a little bit of an estimate here. So this is based on an average salary of 80,000 on that side. And we're using a low end of the spectrum on the calculator cost, and we're calculating this at a 50% margin on that. So basically, each turnover is going to cost you $40,000. And that number comes from a couple of different factors, as I mentioned. Just straight up the time that you need to replace this person, because you're going to now have to spend time interviewing a whole bunch of candidates, making job offers on that side to eventually get someone to join and replace that person. You are then going to have to train them and coach them up. So from day one, they are not contributing at 100%. That's unrealistic. So you're going to have that ramp up time. So that could be anywhere to sort of like say, if you're a ramp up of at a minimum, you're going to be 2 months ramping somebody up, probably longer than that. And you're probably 2 months to find someone. So you're probably 4 months to 6 to 9 months, somewhere in that range to getting back to 100% on that point. There's a lot of lost productivity on that side, which why you can probably agree that 40,000 is a little bit at that low end. A lot of companies and including some of the larger firms use 100% of salary as a true cost calculator for turnover. So this number could easily be higher at that point. So, but we're looking at this on the conservative end and still making a solid business case to look at this as a cost center and opportunity for business efficiency on that side. So if we're looking at that, you're also then going to consider when somebody leaves, if that work is still being done, is that passed on to other members of your team? Does that then cause extra burden, burnout, stress on them? Does that have a ripple effect of them leaving on that side? There's tons of factors that go into this on that side. Leadership time is one of the biggest expenses that we see on that side, and people stressing about this and not focusing on other areas of their business to grow because they're in a fire drill replacing somebody. So I'll stop going on about the cost calculator and sort of how we got that into the turnover cost and calculated that out. Again, this could easily be a much higher number But the problem is this doesn't show up on your balance sheet. This isn't something, an expense that you can just slash. This is something you need to be strategic about, and it comes from an HR strategy point. So if we're looking at this, we're again looking to get you down to that number in that 10 to 12% range. And our goal, if you came to us as a company and said these are our metrics, our goal would be to reduce you by about $150,000 in turnover costs. And that's what we're seeing with our clients as we measure this number as we go through on that side and really get down to the palatable turnover cost. Now, the next question is, why don't I reduce my turnover cost to $0? And that's a great question, but that's not something you want to target at that point. That's actually a concern. If we went into a company and saw this and said like, hey, we have zero turnover costs, we're good. My concern there is twofold. One, there's complacency, meaning if nobody is being held accountable for their expectations and the expected outcomes of their role, then they're not being terminated and moved on. There should be a healthy churn on that side. Nobody gets hiring 100% right all the time and doesn't stay that way over time. So people are people. This is going to be influences outside your work as well. So people are going to leave because of that as well. They're going to want to change roles. They're going to want to move. They're going to have something that impacts them outside life that makes them want to change direction. Things happen. People are going to leave. It should be okay. The other side is if you are a growing company, eventually people are going to outgrow the number of seats that you have. And there should be a healthy turnover on that side. And that's where we talk about this being an acceptable sort of 10%. And what I mean by that is a quick example is imagine you had a team of four account executives on that side, right? So you have four amazing salespeople. They're out there crushing it. Three of them want to become the sales manager at that point. And let's say you don't have a sales manager at that point. Say you are the leader of the company and you're doing it, but they want to grow into this role. You don't have three sales manager role seats available. You're not going to be growing that much. Doubling in size is fantastic, but you're not doubling to the point where you need that. So that's what I mean. If you have these top producers, they are going to be moving up in their own career ladder at that point. And you should be grooming them to do that, where there should be a natural exit where they kind of outgrow the company at that point. And that is a different conversation we can talk about, but that should be acceptable as well on that side. And I have a great video about, NCAA talking about the one and dones and why that is an effective business model that you should be looking at as well. And turnover on that side should be great for it, because then backfilling those roles is reduced on that time because you're going to be able to tell new candidates, hey, the last person in this role went on to be a sales manager somewhere else. It took them 2.5 years to do that. Come here, but that's a career path that you could be on as well. And that's a phenomenal recruiting tool to get another A player back in the door at that point as well. So this is the turnover calculator. So it's on our site. So you can come along and plug in kind of your numbers wherever you've been at that point, right? Like if you've had some of these things where you've turned over. And it's one of those things when you actually go back and think about how many people have left in the last 12 months, that number is bigger than you probably think it is on your first guess. So go back into it. If you have an HRIS, pop into there, talk to your finance bookkeeper. They will definitely know who's done that. Or if you're using something like WagePoint, you can go in and easily see. But take a quick peek and see what this is. And then if you have questions on how to reduce it and this number comes up to something where you're like, okay, this is significant, please reach out to us. Let's have a conversation. We'll give you some tips without, looking into the full engagement, but we'll share how we've helped other companies with our, modern performance reviews, building the right culture, having accountability. These are things that help this and get you to a very healthy turnover rate at that point and allows you to focus on growing your business. So that's everything on turnover rate that I wanted to cover on that side. If you have any questions, again, reach out. You can book a call, which is up here in the corner. There's also a contact us section where you can actually write a question to us directly, and we will respond to that and sort of kick around and see if there's other resources or your questions already answered in our resource section. Alrighty, that's it. Have a wonderful day, everybody. Cheers. Bye-bye.